All right, welcome back to Golf Live. Trey Wingo here, Justin Ray there. It is your time on the program, your time to shine. We have our questions ready, and the disembodied voice of Katrina is with us once again. So, Katrina, fire off with the first question.
All right, our first question is, this Rolapp presser seemed like a huge step forward for the PGA Tour. What are you most excited about?
For me, Justin, I think that, Brian has always said, we will respect the traditions of the sport, but we won't be bound by them. The respect that it has to be a meritocracy, the respect that there all be full fields, the respect that there will be cuts, and get rid of sponsors exemptions. All of that says to me, hey, people want to see real competition and they want to see people earn it. So for all the other things that we can talk about, big cities and the 2 tiers and all this kind of stuff, it's about, are you good enough? Can you play well enough to be where you want to be if you want to be considered one of the best? That's the thing I took out of it more than anything.
I agree. My answer is twofold. Early on, it was, all right, cuts are back. The Friday cut sweat, that's what I want. 120-man field, proper cut. And then I read they might go to Seminole and Pine Valley, and I was like, okay, that's a different level of intrigue there. So
I'm interested.
Very interested. Yeah. So we'll see if that happens. I know that's not locked in or anything, but that is certainly, that's what piqued my interest the most, was reading that detail after the fact.
When I saw the press release and I put out the tweet, I said the 2 things that stand out: no sponsors exemptions, and we may be going to Pine Valley and Cypress and Seminole. Wow, that just popped to me right away, and I thought those were the 2 coolest things. So we are simpatico there.
We
All
sound
right,
like
Katrina,
2 kids on Christmas
question?
morning, by the way.
We do. We're very excited. It's like Mel Kiper before the draft. Katrina, what's the next question?
That takes us to our next question, which is, the PGA Tour may be going to Pine Valley, Cypress Point, and Seminole. What other courses could you see them going to?
Well, a couple that jump off the page. I'd love to see Chicago golf get in there. I mean, I shouldn't say this because I'm not supposed to say this. I've had the opportunity to play it a couple of times. It is the course that nobody talks about when we talk about National and Shinnecock and Friars Head and all these great, Sabonic and all these great courses out there, and Oakmont and Pinehurst. Chicago golf does not get the same reverence. They kind of like it that way, but my God, would I love to see them go to Chicago golf.
So that was going to be my answer as well, but I also would love to see them get back to the Pacific Northwest. I would love to see Chambers Bay again, maybe in a different type of setting as it's mature.
Don't ask Gary Player about it. Don't ask Gary Player about it.
Good morning, Damon. But no, it's matured another decade. Maybe Sahali. They haven't played an event there in a long time. I mentioned going there for the Women's PGA a couple years ago. It's a beautiful part of the country, and there's some great golf courses in the Pacific Northwest. I think it'd be cool if they got back out there.
Gamble Sands apparently is a terrific golf course. Bandon Dunes. When they had the Amateur out there a few years ago, that was incredible theater. Now they had picture perfect weather, but it absolutely,
which is often not the case.
That is flip of the coin, no question about it. But that made those 4 days really special. I would love to see those courses as well. All right, Katrina, what else we got?
All right, next up we have match play coming back. This seems like it would be must-watch television, and I hope you guys are as excited about it as I am.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that they're going to make it something significantly different from the rest of the tour, right? Here we are, stroke play, regular season champion, congratulations. Now we'll go to the playoffs. Let's shake up the format, and let's see if we can have someone pull a Nick O'Hearn on Scotty Scheffler. For those that don't know, Nick O'Hearn was a left-handed Australian player who somehow twice beat Tiger Woods in the World Match Play Championships. Some things are just unexplainable, and that's the beauty of match play.
I do think that there's always a pining for match play that folks tend to forget, though, as a TV product. As there's fewer golfers, there's less shots to show. So that's something that they'll need to battle with. But look, it's the purest form of the game, and it's certainly welcome in my eyes in terms of coming back and seeing the world's greatest players go head-to-head. We don't get to see it that often in the match play format.
I agree. And it's just like the Zurich Championship. It's fun to see a team event, and it'd be fun to see something a little different, a match play event, especially with the stakes being that high. I'm absolutely for that. All right, what else we got?
Maybe at Seminole.
Love it. Yes.
All right, so what did Rolapp say that you are still waiting on an answer on?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that we're still waiting on an answer on. We still don't know about the other 15. We have 10 of the 15 events. We don't know who those other, what the other 15 events are going to be. Honestly, the other thing is we don't know. I think FedEx commitment to the PGA Tour runs through the end of next season. So we don't know what's going to happen there. If someone else will be in charge of the FedEx Cup points race and how that will be structured. There's still a lot to be determined. Again, Brian does a really good job of painting broad strokes and then seeing how people respond to that. And he uses that feedback to help fill in the details. We still don't know how we're going to work out medical exemptions or lifetime exemptions. We still don't know, what big cities that they're going to try and go back to. There is still a lot of information that has to be determined. And we have some time. Basically, Justin, I think one of the cool things he said today is we're using 2027 to get ready for 2028 when really it's going to rewrite the map.
Yeah, and look, I didn't expect any of these answers today, per se, but like you said, the cities, the specifics in terms of, like, are we going to Cherry Hills in Denver? Like, those types of things where you get the real, hard details of what's to come here. And then you mentioned, like, the major medical stuff. I mean, that's something that's still, it's always been, something that's been pretty well understood as long as I've covered the tour and as long as I've followed the tour. I'm just interested to see how that evolves here with the new look in 2028.
Yeah. So again, this is Brian doing a really good job of understanding that it's okay not to tell everybody everything at once. He said we'll have more on this a little bit down the road at the Tour Championship. That's not unintentional. Let's just be clear about that. That is not unintentional. Keep them interested. Give them drips of information. Very much the NFL model that he rode to a lot of success, and Rory McIlroy alluded to it at a press conference in the spring. Drip, drip, drip of information. Keep people trying to figure out what happens next. All right, Katrina, what do we got?
Next question is, how is Gino Titakum's game heading into this week's major?
Well, I mean, look, ultimately the question is just when does it happen in terms of breaking through in a big event? She's won twice already this year. She won earlier in the year in Asia and then came back and won again. Her game it fits basically everywhere. I compare her a lot. I'd probably say their comp on the men's game is Xander Schauffele, so that makes it more surprising to me that she hasn't broken through yet in a big major championship. But Gino, like I said, is maybe one of the most intriguing athletes in professional sports to me right now, because she's so young but still has achieved so much, and we're just waiting to see when it happens on this breakout big stage.
Could be this weekend. All right, Katrina, next question.
Our next question is that I get the frustration and anger with Windham from last year, but the amount of hatred and nasty treatment he received was brutal. What are your thoughts on how Windham was treated and how he handled the adversity?
Well, I'll start there. Listen, we all have bad moments, and I was not thrilled with what he did at Oakmont, which is in many ways as sacred here as St. Andrews is when we talk about golf in Scotland and the beginning of the game. But I think he's done a really good job. He's basically been on a 3-month-long apology tour, in my opinion. Maybe it was a little late getting started, but I think he's sincere about it. After he won at the Byron Nelson, he brought it up. No one asked about it. He brought it up, and he's brought it up a couple of times. I think he's more than atoned for that. And I think the way he handled the stuff over the weekend, I thought in the end will bring him more fans than detractors when this is all in the dustbin of history.
I hope none of us are ever judged by the worst moments of our lives.
Correct.
Right? I think that, look, I was so surprised by how vitriolic it was. And in turn, honestly, it made me a much bigger fan of Windham Clark and his game, to see him, the way he reacted, the way he talked about how him and his caddy were kind of joking about it the entire time. Like if someone clapped, he'd be like, hey, someone likes us. Like he took the total, absolute perfect approach to it. And look, he won his second U.S. Open as a result of it. I think it was as much of a mental challenge as anything. And he really, really impressed me.
He did. And you mentioned this earlier. Let's add in the stress of basically holding the lead for 72 hours, along with the stuff that he had to endure that says a lot about his mental fortitude and his mental strength when it comes to the game, when you put those two elements of a cocktail together. And I think it was really impressive with what he was able to do. Katrina, what's the next one?
Our final question is, the USGA overmanaged/mismanaged a course that has stood the test of time. How do you think they handled the course setup at Shinnecock?
Well, this is not something that I've done a lot. I'm gonna give the USGA a little bit of a pass here, because I think what they did was they set up the course, rightfully so, based on the conditions that they thought were going to happen weather-wise. We were supposed to get those incredible gusts of wind, especially late Thursday afternoon, and it got a little blustery, but it just didn't materialize to the level that we thought it was going to be. And I think they protected the course a little bit. And then once the weekend came and the weather forecast changed, they were like, boys, we're going back to old school. And by mid-Saturday afternoon, there weren't greens anymore at Shinnecock. There were browns at the end of the holes. And I loved it. I thought they overprotected the course because of what happened there in 2018 and 2004 and because of the weather. And once they realized that wasn't an issue, I thought the setup over the weekend was perfect.
How many guys finished under par? 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, I kind of would push back on the assessment that it was mismanaged. I think they did actually an excellent job, all things considered. I mean, think about Thursday morning when we all woke up and headed out to the course for the opening round. We thought that they were going to call play then, because balls were moving on greens, and it looked like it was on the nice edge, and the forecast was that it was going to get even more windy. They had to account for all those things, and they still ended up with a golf course that, I said entering the week, I thought the USGA was going to let Shinnecock be Shinnecock, and I think they did that. I think they overwhelmingly, for the most part, that's what they did, and we ended up with, a champion at 4 under, only 3 guys under par. Like, I don't know how much more you can ask in terms of setting up a classic golf course for a championship in the modern era. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy task, and I think they did a great job. So I'd push back on the assessment that it was mismanaged.
Yeah, and I'll give the USGA credit on one more thing. Mike Wan and the USGA was asked about this. They're like, how much more money could you have made if you go to places that have more access? And obviously Pebble has a bigger setup around it, or a place like Pinehurst number 2. And he said, yeah, we left millions of dollars on the table, but it's important for us to go to places like Shinnecock that are cathedrals of the game. And I honestly respect the hell out of that, because it's not just about making the most money. It's about understanding, especially at Shinnecock, the oldest clubhouse in America, where this golf game came from in the United States. So I don't think they mismanaged it, and I love the fact that they choose to go back to these places, which are difficult and problematic on a lot of logistic levels, but damn it, they're going to do it anyway, and I thought that was really cool.
If you're mad that the fairways were too wide, okay, I can kind of understand that being some pushback. But look, the field hit 70% of the fairways in 2018. That's about what they hit this week. Like I said, I think all things considered, with all the different challenges they face and just the nature of trying to run a modern championship with modern equipment on a classic golf course, it's difficult to do, and I think they did overall a really good job.
I agree. And we hope we did a really good job getting your questions in. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with us. Justin, I know your time is valuable. Go do what you got to do at the Women's PGA Championship, the KPMG Women's PGA Championship at Hazeltine. And we will talk to you next week, my friend. Be well.